The Halifax Black Film Festival returns to Halifax this weekend. Now in its 8th year, the festival includes a panel and workshop discussions and is one of several black film festivals that take place annually throughout Canada. These festivals were founded through the Fabian Collette Foundation. Andrea Este is the head coordinator of the 6 black film festivals throughout Canada, including Halifax. Andrea Este is here with us today to talk about the festival's origins, why it's important, and what to expect from this weekend's festival. Andrea, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
My name, pardon me. So for close to 2 decades, through the Fabian Collette Foundation, you guys have showcased hundreds of films from black filmmakers, in addition to Halifax and places like Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, Calgary, and in the past you've showcased some other places throughout the world as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it all started 19 years ago, I believe, with the Haitian Festival in Montreal, which later became the Montreal International Black Film Festival, Canada's first and I believe still only bilingual film festival.
Black Film Festival.
How and why did that launch?
So how it started?
Right.
So Fabienne Collette, the founder, was a celebrated actress in Haiti. So when she first arrived to Montreal, it was actually on her way to LA. So she was considered a little bit like the Halle Berry of Haiti. She's very well known, and so she wanted to try out LA. And so the story is that she's explained is that on her way to LA, she decided to stop in Quebec. She had a friend here and who she wanted to visit. So she did.
And there's a strong Haitian population in Quebec.
There's a large Haitian population in Quebec, yes. Right. I believe now, I think it's the largest black population in Quebec are Haitian.
Okay.
And so Fabienne, upon arriving in Quebec, she saw a little bit how things were and she fell in love with it. So she decided to stay. And she sort of decided to make her way to Montreal and establish herself there. And she wanted to audition, she wanted to be in films and so forth. But she had a rude awakening upon arriving to Montreal back then. No one would hire her. They said her accent was too strong. She was too dark. No one who looked like her were on Canadian screens or Quebec screens. And so she initially said, well, listen, I'm a celebrated actress in Haiti. I've been in all these different films. Let me bring some films from Haiti. And maybe they'll play them in the film festivals there. Because at the time, I believe there were 2 black film festivals going on. And so she figured, perhaps they'll show my films. Well, they wouldn't show her films, and which discouraged her a little bit at the beginning. And she was like, why won't they show my films? And so this is really what pushed her and motivated her to start the Haitian Film Festival. She started by bringing 1 or 2 films from Haiti, and they were really well received. And she decided to continue, and as it started to grow, she decided for it to transform into the Montreal International Black Film Festival, and that's how it was born. So it was MIBFF was born maybe 2 or 3 years after the Haitian Film Festival.
Right. And so through those festivals, there's also an incubator program called Being Black in Canada. What can you tell us about it and how it connects with Being Black in Halifax? I believe that's an umbrella program.
Sure. So it's the largest it's the largest mentorship training program in Canada. Yeah. It's presented by Netflix and supported by the National Bank. It's created by the Fabian Collette Foundation. It's an incubator program for emerging filmmakers between the ages of 18 and 30.
Okay. What is an incubator program?
So an incubator means it's like the first program, and it's very intensive.
Okay.
And what happens is they go through a selection process. They have to, some sort of like you could say maybe an audition type of thing, where they have to pitch their film idea. Okay. There's many candidates, and out of the candidates, we select 5 from each city. Okay. Montreal has 2 because we have a French cohort and an English cohort. So take Halifax, for example. I believe this year's cohort, there's 5. And what they do is these young filmmakers are taken from A to Z of how to produce their first short documentary film. And the stories are, because they're documentary, they're mostly based on, what it's like for them being Black in Canada. So their experiences, some stories are about their family, some stories are about a person who's inspired them. Some stories, my goodness, the topics are really quite wide. And so they have the opportunity to work with professionals in the field, and they are able to produce their first short documentary film, which is then shown in all the festivals that we have in Canada. So they have a chance to tour. All their films are shown in all the 6 cities.
So the folks who are making documentaries about being Black in Halifax, those are shown in Toronto.
Yes.
Being Black in Toronto is shown in Vancouver. And
yes, exactly.
So on and so forth.
I actually just came back from Toronto Black Film Festival, and that was the first time that the 2023 cohorts film were shown. So it was their premiere in Toronto. And so Friday is our opening night here in Halifax, right. And it will be premiering all of them as well. So from all the different cities, and of course Halifax is the main.
This isn't Halifax's first year, though, is it? How many years is Halifax being Black in Halifax?
Being Black in Halifax, I believe it's the 3rd year. So the program started 3 years ago. Don't quote me on this, I believe. See, being Black in Canada is not my department. I know very much about the program, right. But if you do want to have the specifics, I believe we had the very first cohort was Montreal and Toronto. I believe the first cohort, yes, was Montreal, Toronto, and Halifax. So yes, so we're going on our 3rd year.
And not to put you on the spot, but sure. Where you would have seen the other Being Black in Halifax documentary, what, if anything, have you learned about what it's like being Black in Halifax that you went through those films?
Well,
stand out?
Yes, because I understand the history of Halifax for our community is a little bit complicated. Mm-hmm. It made me realize that still today, the Black community is not, how could I put it? There are still issues with the government of Halifax and the Black community, okay. With especially the early Black settlers, those who came out of Africville. Yeah. I learned about North Preston. I learned about that community, and how it's predominantly Black community that is, that has their challenges and their successes within that community. I learned that Halifax is a, I guess you could say, a city that is quite complex because of that. Because you've got the original Blacks, the settlers, who came from the Underground Railroad, who established themselves. And then you also have the new arrival Blacks who are from Africa and the diaspora, you see. And so what we aim to do with the Black Film Festival is that it's for the whole Black community. And we look for the exchanges between the newly Black community, the new arrival of the Black community, and also the older Black community. And it's been a struggle in the past of drawing out the original Black community to come out, but that is our goal. And we really want them to come and embrace the festival and be part of it, because it's for them and it's for everyone in Halifax to come and enjoy. So it's not just a festival for Black people, it's a festival for all races, all,
No one's being denied entry
no one
at the
is
door.
being denied. We want everybody to come and see these beautiful films, because we can learn from each other. And when you see films that you wouldn't normally see on a big screen, because unfortunately there's not a lot of films where there's people that look like us. Wow. And our stories aren't always told. And so this is a great opportunity for people to come out and see these great films and form connections and dialogues after the film, exchanges, and see, we tend to go through a lot of the similar things. And I think sometimes something that you would see in one of their stories could really resonate with you, whether you're white or Black or whatnot, so.
And a lot of this history you mentioned, you learned more about that specifically through these films you're saying.
I did about what it's like, what it's like now being Black in Halifax.
So folks want to learn about, maybe folks in Halifax want to learn what it's like being Black in Toronto. Is there a lot of similarities? Is there many contrasts? Maybe folks have to come out and see for themselves.
I think folks have to come out and see for themselves, because Toronto is a city where the Black population is huge. I see some parallels with Montreal and Halifax. Okay. Our original Black community in Montreal, originally they were the Anglophone Black community that came from the Caribbean. And there's always that language issue in Quebec now with English and French. English Black population, French Black population. And sometimes there's, there's not always so much collaborating between the two.
That's interesting, because I wouldn't have even, that makes sense to hear you say that, but I wouldn't have stopped to even think about that. I know there's a lot of, I don't want to say conflict, but, differences between, French-speaking folks and English-speaking folks in Quebec, just in of itself, but you're saying that there's also, that exists within the Black community as well. Yes.
We're trying to, I'm part of an organization, and there's many organizations, Black organizations in Quebec, who are trying to bridge those how could I say, are trying to make sure that we do collaborate and work together.
Because I should have mentioned, you yourself are from Montreal. You live
I'm born in Montreal, raised in Montreal, and my heritage is, my father is half Bayesian and half Antiguan, and my mother is French. My mother's French from Quebec. But I grew up in the English-speaking Black community, so that's how I identify.
Now, I was speaking with Fabienne Collette about a year ago, and I've heard her speak in other places. One of the things I heard her mention was that the Black Lives Matter movement had a positive impact on the growth of the festival, or at least on attention that it received.
Yes.
We're now nearly 4 years removed from the tragic death of George Floyd, which sparked that movement. Do you feel, or do you find that that momentum is still there? Has it leveled out? Is it going away? Has it regressed, or maybe there's no easy way to be able to tell? So
when his death occurred and Black Lives Matter movement happened, we were in COVID. We were during, lockdown, and we launched the 3 festivals, the new festivals, online. So we launched Vancouver, Calgary, and Ottawa.
Virtually during
COVID. And during that time, we produced, we did Toronto. We did the Toronto Black Film Festival online. So it was our first complete virtual festival. And it was right in the whole George Floyd, all the protests, all of that was going on. So what we did is we really highlighted topics in the festival that we wanted to talk about. So we had films, we had a lot of films because people were home. So I think that year we had the most films shown online. We had about, 119 films from 40 countries. And we also had some really thought-provoking discussions in our panel discussions online, which were free on Facebook, with topics that really went and narrowed in what we were going through as Black people. So that whole movement really shed a light on what Black people have been going through all around the world. The movement swept throughout the world, and we saw the protests, and we saw that, okay, we've had enough, enough is enough. And out of that grew a lot of, awareness, more awareness than there had been previously. Right. And so that opened doors.
And people who are interested in being aware and becoming more aware, I would think, too.
Exactly. And it opened more doors than we had ever seen before in this industry. And so there were a lot of different programs that were springing up just for, the Black community, Black creators, Black, in the industry, film and television. And, people were looking for Black artists to be part of their programs or productions,
Is that still the case, do you find? Is it going away? Well, where do you think it'll be in 2030? Or is it hard to say?
I like to say that, it was kind of like an uphill, and we reached the top, and now, unfortunately, it's a bit of a plateau, but it's sort of going down. So now what's happening in this industry is there's not as many programs. Some people have stopped some of the diversity programs in their organizations. I'm talking about because there was a lot of focus on how can we create space for these Black creators to be part of, to be more seen, to be more heard, to shed a light more on what they're doing on their projects, and there was a big push towards that. But now, not only in the arts industries, but in many industries, we're seeing that their diversity and inclusion inclusion,
Inclusion.
diversity, and
Third time's a charm.
their diversity and inclusion departments. Some organizations and some businesses are now getting rid of those positions. So
Okay.
people are being laid off. So they were created in order for us to be able to advance and to have opportunities. And now we're seeing that, their funding has been cut. They've fired people in those positions. So it's almost as though, okay, well, I really hope that they realize that this is something that has to stay.
Yeah.
And it's not something that was just like a fly-by-night. We need to continue to fund and continue to support and continue to showcase.
Well, and it's interesting because you mentioned the COVID lockdowns. I sort of factored that into that time as well.
Yes.
Folks, I remember there was a march here locally.
Yes,
And
everywhere.
plenty of folks came up, but folks were also, going stir crazy up until then. It's not to cast aspersions about whether folks were truly there for that reason, but there's that aspect as well, as you mentioned.
Exactly. So for us, it was kind of nice because in a way, people could see these films at home. And that's where the whole online aspect to the festival showed up. And everybody kind of did that pivot to online. And we saw the impact that it had. Because the festivals could reach so many more people.
So is this year's festival?
It's hybrid.
It's also still online.
Yes, going forward, there will always be an online version. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
An online element, in person and online.
And so this year's Halifax Black Film Festival, I believe it has 45 films from 11 different countries. It also includes some panel discussions and workshops and other events. What can you tell us about that?
So the Black Market is the industry series. This year we do have some great panel discussions and workshops. I'll just name off a few.
Okay.
So on Saturday at the public library, starting at 11 a.m., we have Where to Get Help When You Need It in the Entertainment Industry. So we've got some professionals and some leaders in the industry that are going to come and share, their experiences and give some insight into that. We also have Crafting Audio Stories, the path to becoming a podcast writer. So if anyone's out there is interested in podcasts, please come out to that panel discussion. It's all the panel discussions of the Black Market are free, including the workshop.
And how do folks learn more about them? And
They have to go.
Everything.
Everything is on the website at halifaxblackfilm.com. And they can find everything they need to know. We've got a really great workshop that is unlocking opportunities and exploring Nova Scotia's film support system. So all the filmmakers out there, if they want to know how, the funders work and what they're looking for, we're going to have some speakers from Telefilm Canada, from CBC. So people who can come and actually talk a little bit about, the support system. They're not funders, but they can help direct you to the proper funders. So please come out for that. It's going to go from 11 till I believe 4 on Saturday, and they're free.
And where are the films being shown in person?
Yes. So the festival's taking place at the Cineplex Park Lane. We're kicking it off with our opening film called The 50, which I actually saw in Toronto.
Why has that film been selected to be the kickoff film?
It's a very powerful film. It's a film about these 50 men who went through the penal system in the United States, who were incarcerated for various crimes. And they went through this program that rehabilitated them, in which they became counselors for professional counselors, and who could then help other inmates get out of the situation and get out of prison. So it's a difficult film in the sense that some of it is hard to take, of what the lives that these men went through that led them in jail. A lot of the times in this film, you see that right from the start, their childhood was not ideal, very tough circumstances. And the life of crime it just kind of like is what saved them from perhaps a very difficult childhood, family life. Right. And they were attracted into the world of crime and so forth. So this film is very uplifting as well, and it shows their process while incarcerated in this program. So,
and this is the opening film on opening night. When where is opening night again?
Opening night is at Cineplex Park Lane, and our opening night film is at 7 p.m. And so I invite everybody to come out. It's a really great film. And we have other films on Saturday. 1 o'clock, we've got a feature. Go and see it on the website. I'm not going to give anything more away. You can go and check it out yourselves. And we also are showing the Being Black in Canada short films. So we're going to have at 5 p.m. we have, I believe it's the Toronto, the Vancouver, and Ottawa films. And at 7 p.m. we're going to be showing the Halifax, Calgary.
At 7 p.m.
At 7.
At Cineplex on here.
So Friday night, 7 p.m. is our opening film, The 50. And on Saturday night at 5 p.m. is the BBIC cohort, and at 7 p.m. as well. So 5 and 7. I'm just going to clarify which are which, so that if people want to come and see each of them. So 5 p.m. on Saturday night, we've got Being Black in Canada, Halifax, Montreal, and Ottawa. So if all of you want to come and see these beautiful films from the Halifax cohort, it's at 5 o'clock on Saturday night. And at 7 o'clock, it's the Toronto, Calgary, and Vancouver cohort.
There's 45 films to choose from, so I won't get you to name them all, but 45 in total.
Yes.
Any final thoughts to share? We said it all. Well, you spoke about this a bit. Why is it important to showcase Black stories, Black actors, and Black filmmakers?
Our platforms are very important because in every city we go, we see that there's a lack of diversity on screen.
Okay.
And that's the reason Fabienne created the first festival, because she wanted to give the opportunity to Black voices to be heard and for us to be seen and for our stories to be told, whether they're documentary stories, whether they're narrative stories, fiction, where they're not stereotypical roles or stereotypical films, but just beautiful creations from around the world, because our festival showcases films from Black creators from around the world. So you have films from Nigeria, Brazil, England, Scotland, France, USA, Canada. So these are films that you wouldn't see in mainstream cinema.
Right.
So this is a really great chance to come and see some really original films that perhaps will resonate with you and will inspire the next generation of filmmakers.
The Halifax Black Film Festival takes place this weekend in Halifax. Andrea Este is the head coordinator of the 6 Black Film Festivals that take place throughout Canada. She's joined us here today. Andrea, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure.